this bracket.
I guarantee you everybody that is going to be waiting in the knockout bracket is now shivering in their boots because they will inevitably have to play against either herO or Maru or Reynor or herO. There are so many insane names that are going to be going to that lower bracket match. Oh man, so much on the line. But let's get to it. Starting out in this best of 5, spawning in the top right, your Protoss player representing Weibo Gaming, it is herO.
And his opponent down here in the blue from Italy, our Zerg player, he is Reynor. So this is going to be a lot of fun. Let's also point out, Protosses are not doing that great. Right now, the Protosses, they're kind of going extinct. The last few Protosses left in this tournament might be the casters. We're going to see.
Yeah, a couple more days, and I think that will be true.
Yeah.
But you know, herO, he's been playing really well recently. I actually had very high hopes for him, even in his match against herO earlier on the tournament. I thought that he had a chance to potentially take a couple of maps. He's really explosive. I know that herO's in the military and perhaps doesn't have quite as much time to prepare as he would like. But unfortunately, herO kind of got outclassed right there. So I'm hoping that between the time from yesterday and the time from today, herO, he's able to reset. He's able to come back into the series with calm nerves and go up against Reynor, because if you're a player in the booth right now, I mean, the stakes are just so high. You really kind of have to separate yourself mentally from what you are playing for and focus on the here and now.
I agree. Excuse me. herO has always been a player that has marched to his own beat. He really revolutionized PvZ in a pretty crazy way over about the last 3 years, coming back post-military service. All Koreans have to do their military service. It's about 2 years to 18 months. A lot of people said you could not be viable, you could not be competitive. Returning to that, you would basically be too out of shape and you'd have too much catching up to do. He definitely proved that wrong.
Oh, yeah.
And he had a take on PvZ, and it's interesting because I don't feel like it was emulated as much as I thought it would be. He basically would wall off third bases, fourth bases with Gateways, GoMass, Oracle, and Stalker, and kind of play this pressure game and bleed the Zerg out over time. It was pretty cool to see. It's almost like a TVZ push where you just see the Marines kill off enough Banelings and Zerglings and Queens over time that eventually they come in and dominate. And not a lot of players copied it or emulated it, so I want to see if he's going to bring it here today.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of unheard of for a player to come back from military service and not just regain their form, but basically revolutionize a matchup the way that herO did for at least a couple of months as the Zergs kind of scrambled to try and get their hive mind together and figure out exactly how do you deal with this thing. They have improved in that way in quite a bit, but despite that, you know, herO, he has been able to adjust with the rest of them. He is still one of the cutting-edge Protoss players in PvZ, and here we have in game number 1, herO going for kind of the most standard opening that it gets here. It's a really fast Oracle. I believe that Stargate about 2:16 on the clock, so really rapidly coming in. herO, his Oracle micro is exceptional, but Reynor right now only sitting on 2 hatcheries, that third barely getting ready to be up. There might not be too much of a window for him to get damage done with these first 2 Oracles, but actually, oh, these Adepts, can they get that tumor? Oh, nice pickoff right there by herO.
Oracle out now. Quick third base over here with the pylon wall. Reynor sending some lings across the map. I don't know if there's anything over here to defend that third base. You got to be careful. It's fun to try to come out and be aggro, but if you don't have defense, you can just force that to be canceled. But the double Adept here will be able to plug into the wall in. And at this point in time, herO just kind of seeing what damage he can find, you know. He is going to come over here and take out those buildings. Now we've got some lings coming in here to harass. All very light damage. Well, hold on a second, actually. These lings can really start to add up. The kills over here. We've got 4 kills on probes. It's going to end at that, but, you know, not bad, actually, for Reynor, all things considered.
Yeah, that is really good for Reynor. This is kind of the stage in the game here as Protoss, where if you are playing Oracle, you are expecting to get, you know, anywhere between 3 and 5 drones worth of damage. If it's 5, it's really good. If it's 3, you know, you're happy. You're pretty content with that situation. And you can kind of pull ahead from the Zerg, at least briefly in the worker count as a result of that. But here the tables have turned. herO hasn't gotten anything done besides killing that group tumor with the Adepts, with the Oracles. And Reynor with, what was it, like 6 lings, 8 lings, able to snipe a ton of probes? I mean, early on,
Yeah.
like 3 or 4 probes, that's a ton. This early game macro matters a lot, but here we go. herO coming now into this high yield base, getting a lot of damage done. He needed this. The Oracle's even adding some damage there on the top line as the Adepts continue to sacrifice themselves, and in total, 7 drones going down. Now, unfortunately for herO, there is a Spore Crawler and 3 Queens in position down at the natural expansion, so he can't continue to build on this damage. Ooh. Oh man, is that a full wall?
Yeah.
You know, if it's a typical Protoss player, I'm not that afraid, but when it's herO, my heart sinks, man.
Yeah, he's had a couple skinny Adepts in the past where the Lings can get right by. They're going to come up here. Now, they're not going to kill the Nexus. They will stop probes from mining and at least force this back. It looks like he wants to try to, he wants to force energy out of the Oracles, just trying to eke out as much value as possible. Really nicely done. We should note that these third bases, for both sides, they're kind of close to each other. They're kind of expanding into each other's territory here, so we could have a lot of pretty fast-paced timing attacks, depending on who wants to hit who first.
Yeah, I'm imagining in this matchup, herO is probably going to be the one to pull the trigger. He really likes to play aggressive with the Blink Stalkers, especially with +1 in the early game. In fact, as recently as a couple of months ago, herO is one of these guys who, he plays quite a few tournaments online as well. He would play PvZs, and he would just relentlessly go for mass gateways, skip the Warp Prism, even proxy a gateway in the center of the map, just mass Blink Stalkers, and basically try to finesse Zergs to death with perfect Blink Micro. He is one of the best players in the world in that regard. But in this game, not necessarily that case. He's throwing down the Templar Archive, so in terms of a battle plan, it's going to be further down the pipeline.
Right. Another Ling comes up here. We're getting that Stalker Oracle composition that I was talking about earlier. Over here for Reynor, it's going to be that Roach Tech coming up. And there's that 4th base. Reynor takes a 4th base very fast when he does this. And that's usually post 4th base. He does do the gateway wall, 3 to 4 gates. Again, if he goes for that style. I talk about this because I think it is kind of the highest point that we've ever seen from him PvZ.
It does feel that way, and actually look at it. Oh, another 4th base coming in. I love herO expanding rapidly like this, but I'm very intrigued by Reynor's Infestation Pit timing. I think he threw that one down at, maybe 6 minutes and 40 seconds. So we have Hive Tech coming online. That just got started at 7:20. This is a really fast Hive from Reynor. And,
nice,
I'm looking at the unit setup that he's going for, and I'm not sure exactly what the game plan is going to be. The Hydralisk stand is just now going down.
Well, it might be that he just wants to go for damage, right?
Yeah.
I mean, one thing about when you go for Stalker and Oracle is you can kind of play keep away. They come at you, you blink away. They overextend, the Oracle's punished. You go for mass Hydras, and you just have enough damage, suddenly it doesn't really matter anymore.
Yeah, it's going to be the Lurker play.
Yeah.
I was wondering, because this kind of Hive Tech timing, I look at this as a Protoss player, and I'm like, it would make a lot of sense to actually go for Adrenal Lings in this kind of situation. But without the melee upgrades, I was really scratching my head. And oh, look at this. You're already going for the Fleet Beacon transition. He's been loving this so far in PvZ at EWC, going for Tempest. I think maybe the fastest that I've seen herO ever go for Tempests in this matchup. It's been a little bit of a switch up in the way that he's been approaching the game, but in this case, I feel like it really does kind of play in his favor if he's able to stabilize here through the mid game, because on the ground, Protoss players, unless they have a sizable advantage, they typically struggle a lot to deal with Hive Tech Lurkers.
Right.
Skytoss is really the answer to that in the end game, and he's already beginning in the transition.
Yeah, and I think the Lurkers are a great way to just kind of seal off your positions and not let yourself get abused and fished out by the rest of the army there. And so herO's going to have to try to play around this. Reynor at about 181 supply. He's looking really healthy. He's going to be able to expand to probably the center left and even the bottom right here. I mean, he's mining out these gold minerals over here. There's that base I was mentioning a second ago. And look, I think both players kind of got what they were going for. And now we're going to see a big timing attack coming up here. Yep,
yeah.
This many Queens coming up here. They're going to be used for transfuse. We've got Roaches here as a secondary attack, so it's going to be a bit of a balancing act here from herO.
Oh, this is really scary for herO. Nice storm to start things out. Even the Roaches and Lings having to retreat back through that.
He's going to get air weapons.
Oh, yeah, he will. And there's no more Stalkers that can be made. The Cybernex core is now down. Oh, huge storm on the Queens, on the Roaches there on the right side, but there is so much firepower on the ground right now for Reynor. This is a brilliant timing attack coming in from our Italian Zerg. The first Tempest now finally entering the fray. There's a little bit of static defense herO still with some storms in the bank. He's able to use those to great effect on the queens. I think he might be able to stabilize. Oh, look at this micro by Reynor, man. He is everywhere, sniping high-energy Templars as the Lurkers continue to encroach.
Yeah, the Lurkers are doing so much damage. We've got a RoboBay kind of hanging out of the bottom of the third base, another important tech structure that will be killed off here. Reynor's continuing to advance. Can he get up towards where that Nexus is? It seems like the cannons are just barely out of range. A couple of Zealots get pulled in. They're taken out immediately. More Hydras coming up here from the bottom, as are the Zerglings.
Yeah, the Hydralisk on the right side even sniped one of the Tempest here for herO, which is basically the unit that he has to use to try and force these Lurkers away. Oh, what an intercept! Reynor, those Lurkers, they go the wrong way. I think just the pathing there, a little bit unfortunate.
So they split. One went through the cannons, the other went the safe way. Reynor's now lashing back out on the map. He has completely shut that down. Reynor's growth is looking good. You know, herO surviving doesn't mean he's winning. A Nidus Worm's going to come down here next. It almost seems like Reynor senses that in this moment, herO is going to feel the imbalance on the map and try to push in. And so then Reynor can set up yet another counterattack.
Yeah, that might be what's on Reynor's mind right now, but if I'm herO and I know my opponent basically rushed extremely fast Hive Tech Lurkers, you got to know how expensive that is. For Reynor, it's going to be a gauntlet for him to really go for any kind of late game transition. Yeah, we have the Nidus coming online, the Spire just finished, but you look at the bank for Reynor, even on 80 drones, which is for Reynor quite low at this stage in the game, he doesn't have that much bank, and especially the gas is really lacking. So it's kind of a scary moment here for the Zerg. I love the concept behind this timing attack, but those rapid Tempests really put Reynor on the clock. And now it feels like the momentum swinging heavily in herO's favor.
Here's that Nidus network coming in here. Does herO notice it? He should see it. He is going to warp in two Stalkers. Two Stalkers is not going to stop this in time. He's got a recall. He will take that out. But burning out that recall is kind of a resource on its own, right? So for now, herO's going to survive. The game will continue on. The counterattack here at the top left is going to be interesting. Because there's nothing to defend this. So, you know, you look at that Nidus Worm, you think maybe it was a failed attack. Actually, it caused a positional imbalance, which Reynor was able to exploit and punish.
Yeah, for herO, it's going to be a little bit hard for him to take that next base, but once he's able to converge all of his forces in the center, Reynor will have a very hard time dealing with it. As you see, even these Hydras on the ground, despite having, well, I thought it was +2 already, only having +1 missile attacks. I guess it makes more sense. They really can't take a fight against these Stalkers. herO can basically play with the entire map in his favor. And so he's going to be trying to harass his base a little bit on the low ground, that Extractor at this stage in the game. Obviously not very consequential, but Reynor does not want to forfeit this position, and he really needs, I think, some time to build the bank that he needs, to get the key units that he needs, to start trying to basically work up to a composition that can nullify the strengths now of herO's army, because it's been 3 or 4 minutes since Reynor's failed timing attack, and you even see herO actually killing some of his Stalkers to get more High Templar out, I believe. I'm liking this position for herO a lot. The army that he is building, if we can take a quick look at the units tab, it is impressive. 5 Tempest, 4 carriers with pretty healthy upgrades. We do have 2 Cybernetics who are now pumping up those air upgrades. 12 Templar as well. I am liking the late game setup here for herO.
It's kind of the Turtle God setup over here, right? But it's not always easy to move out on the map with that. Another Nidus Worm is going to come in here at 12 o'clock. A push down here is going to be denied, at least temporarily, as the Stalkers blink away, the Templars move forward. And this Nidus is going to just be killed before it can actually be utilized. We're going to go into probably a split map situation here, cutting the map in half. I am looking at that far bottom right expansion here for Reynor. That's one he can probably take. I don't think that's a really accessible place for Tempests and carriers and the like. The cherry on the top of the cake here is coming out. We've got the Mothership about to be incorporated with the rest of the mix here. So herO's going to start to sweep. He's going to start to roam and try to take some fights wherever he can. But whenever you have a big death ball, especially a slow airborne one, the imbalances there positionally are the ones in spots like this where, you know, you basically go wherever they're not, just like you would Broodlord and Fester.
Ooh, nice abduct right there. 1 Tempest going down here for herO as Reynor gets a very good pickoff. And of course, as you were mentioning, that deny on the base here in the top left. Now herO a little bit too slow to actually intercept those Hydras. Here is the Skytoss player. You would really love to have a little bit more mineral income so that you can have the static defense you need to parry these attacks. And actually, hold on. herO, he is really pushing this one. He knows those Vipers are very low on energy. One more Abduct is going to come in. Feedback's on the Vipers yet again. That Tempest will fall, but the standing army in the sky right now for herO, very powerful. 1-1 already done. We have 4 carriers, 4 Tempest here on the map as he is continuing to apply pressure on the 9 o'clock position.
And it's going to come down to whether or not herO can push through this area. There are so many Spore Crawlers thrown down here. The Tempest is actually going to push in a little bit further and try to fish out these Corruptors that are far in the back. He can start to target down these Lurkers over here as well. I mean, this is becoming a kind of a crazy spot. Are there enough Corruptors here to try to come in and wipe this out? Harpooning the Tempest and getting a kill. Does seem like herO's push is starting to soften up a little bit.
Yeah, Reynor with some really nice pickoffs. I mean, there are a lot of Templar on the ground, but still he's been able to get the Abducts on these Tempest and slow herO's roll. If herO was able to maintain a Tempest count of, say, 5 or 6 right here on the front line, then the pressure mounting here on this 9 o'clock base, it would be building a little bit too fast for Reynor to handle, but the control's been very good so far with the Vipers. And even with these counterattacks, Reynor denying mining because there isn't enough static defense yet for herO. And really a lot of different quadrants on this map, Reynor abusing that, but still, I am concerned about this push unless Reynor can make a big play. Oh, the Fungal's now coming in. Some Storms to try and slow it down, but the Lurkers, they get in range to kill those High Templar, and another Abduct. Man, herO, he's been having a really hard time trying to breach this position. The caster control from Reynor has been so good.
Yeah, Reynor's basically delaying this for so long. So many resources are being soaked up here at this base. At the last second, Reynor decides to pull out. But, you know, herO having to do a lot of the heavy lifting. We can see on the bottom right side of the map, already Reynor's growing into that location. We're running out of expansions. And so we're really getting to the boiling point of this game here. Can we take a look at the center right base? What is that over there exactly?
I think it's just the Nidus
Okay,
for
just
him,
the
yeah.
Nidus over there, so kind of a placeholder.
All right, well, herO picking up some steam here on the left side. Okay, Mothership, it is now cloaking this entire army. Oh, wait, where are the Overseers, in fact? Do we not have an Overseer with this army? Uh-oh, I'm a little bit concerned here for Reynor. He can't see anything. He has to wait for that to expire.
Oh, my gosh. So he's just this big cloaked blob over here. So much damage. He's going to pull the Tempest out and get some shots off over there.
Yeah, but herO, I mean, that cloak bought him so much time because Reynor was unprepared, and the damage is really starting to mount here. The Spellcaster control, although it has been great from Reynor with the Abducts, with the Fungals, I feel like the army here for herO, it might be a little bit too strong.
Right, oddly the Roach War and the Nidus network are now being hit. It's kind of a funny position he's pushed into. Nothing he can mine from this base. I'm worried that actually, for Reynor's sake, if he, you know, all herO has to do is occupy the space. There's not a real rush to do damage, so to speak. And we do have some Lurkers hitting this pylon and Nexus over here.
Yeah, the Lurker's getting some nice counter damage done, but right now for herO, the scary thing is how are you going to deal with this army as Reynor? Because herO, his late game control with this ball has been so strong. I mean, yeah, another Tempest goes down, but the damage really piling up on the Storms. Another very good Storm there from herO. Archon's now even pushing forward. herO going for the kill. Is this an overextension, or does he have just enough? I think he might have enough, Tasteless.
It looks like this hatchery is finally going to go down. He is breaking into this position. Seems like the Corruptors are having to stay back. Meanwhile, the Lurkers are still, well, they've just been cleaned up, actually, by those Stalkers. I mean, it just seems like Reynor's position is deteriorating.
Yeah, there's basically no gas left for Reynor. I mean, what do you really build in this situation with 300 gas in the bank, with such little gas income? I don't know how you're going to be able to hold on. Yeah, you are able to abduct the Mothership here as Reynor, but the standing army for herO is still so strong. The Corruptors now coming in on the left side, but there are no answers for the Archons. And herO, in kind of a stunning fashion, able to finesse Reynor in the late game with these high-tech Skytoss units, despite the very good control with the Spellcasters. And I think it all comes back down to that early high-tech push that Reynor went for. He wanted to make those Lurkers break down the natural expansion, break down the third, get some meaningful damage done, but the Tempest came in so fast for our Korean Protoss player that Reynor was really set back. Despite the good plays that he made later on in the game, the momentum building behind the army construction of herO was just far too great for him to handle, and that's going to be herO taking game one of this best of 5.
Impressive stuff. It did seem like that map was really good for what herO ultimately went for. It's a narrow map. It's not as wide as some of these other ones. He was able to kind of orbit over from the top left and just kind of move downward And he had enough defenses, he had enough stalkers, he could kind of deal with any counterattacks, and ultimately there was just not a whole lot that Reynor can do. So herO now up 1-0 in this best of 5. Remember, the loser is going up against herO in the losers match. Definitely want to avoid that if you can. Introducing our first player in the top left in the red, he is herO. And his opponent down here in the bottom right in the blue, he is Reynor.
Man, you snatched both of those from me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm all hungry.
You're greedy today,
Tasteless. Hungry
Tasteless.
hippos with these player intros. My bad.
All right. Well, let's see what herO's game plan is going to be in this one. I am so curious about what he will go for against Reynor, because I feel like the herO that I have been seeing for the majority of 2024 is not the herO that we have seen prepared at EWC. There's not much emphasis, or at least not as much emphasis, on the early game, on the mid game in terms of timing attacks versus Zerg. And there have been such more rapid developments and explosions in terms of tech coming in from the Protoss. It almost feels like I'm watching, say, like a stats game, the way that he is approaching it. It is really curious because, you know, I saw these first couple of games that he played PvZ earlier on in the tournament. I'm like, well, yeah, EWC, it's basically triple elimination with the way we have Group Stage A, upper bracket, lower bracket, Group Stage B, upper bracket, lower bracket, and then finally the knockout bracket. It's a marathon of a tournament, which is, in my opinion, the best way to decide who's going to get the lion's share of $1 million prize, because it's architectured in a way where we're probably going to get the best 4 players in the world beyond any doubt in the top 4, but it is a long haul. So I thought herO, he was saving builds in the bank for later on in the tournament, but it seems like he has kind of pivoted in terms of his general approach here in PvZ to a more Skytoss late game centered style.
Yeah, now we got to see if it's going to work on this map. I think this map, there's a lot more openness. On the last map, it does feel like there's just, it can get congested. It does feel like you can kind of hoover up everything in your path and kind of destroy the Zerg, and there's not a whole lot the Zerg can do to freely counterattack. There's not even a lot of spots to counterattack once they get that base and get cannons up there on the other side of the map. So this could be a different one, but I would say both players played a pretty good game. I think Reynor was hoping that he could kind of combat that push, you know, harpoon the right units in, kill them off, and kind of win in a long, drawn-out game. Because if you can slow the Protoss down when they're doing that kind of doom push, with the Mothership and the Tempests and the Carriers, and you've got the Templars there. If you can slow that down, the Zerg is going to be on the other side of the map taking up everything.
Yeah, the way that Reynor was controlling in those late game situations, I felt like if he was dealt a better hand getting to that late game, he could have easily beaten herO. Or maybe not easily, but he would have had a much more better fighting chance, you know? But the fact that he went for that 7-minute hive timing with Lurkers pushing into the natural expansion, and herO was able to basically parry it, losing only, what, Cybernetics for a couple of key units with the fast Tempest transition. I mean, that took the wind out of the sails of Reynor so quickly. So I don't think it's really indicative of where both players are at in the late stages of PvZ. I think if Reynor plays more of a standard macro game as opposed to going for one of these really fast hype-tech Lurker timing attacks, he absolutely can bring the fight to herO.
There's a lot of different ways. Oh, wow. One Overlord killed off here. So a bit of a supply block to start things off. That's annoying this early on. So he's been unblocked, but he basically needs one more Overlord to hatch even now. The Lings are going to come out. They are going to bait out that Oracle to attacking them. And it's going to be quick 3 bases. You know, Reynor, there's a lot of ways to play this matchup. So let's see what he decides to do. Some of that may have been map dependent. It may have been a reaction to the way that herO was playing in game 1.
Yeah, I am curious what Reynor's approach is going to be after he had such a keen timing attack there in game number 1. I mean, that was a clever tactic. I was really rooting for it, but the Tempest transition just a little bit too fast. It seems like Reynor has a lot of ideas prepared for how he wants to take down Protoss players in this tournament. Actually, hold that thought here. Now coming in, Sport Crawler is not done, but not a lot of drones here at the natural expansion. Some nice defense by Reynor so far. This Oracle just going to take the damage here in the main base. Only 2 drones going down in total, and what, 1 larva, that the natural hatchery. Totally fine here for Reynor.
2 Oracles stuck in the back now. I don't know if he wants to use a recall there, but they can't be used for much more than that. It is important to keep the Oracles alive and together long term if you want to keep yourself covered, if you want to try to expand and grow out on the map like we've seen herO before. There's a Forge coming along and a couple more gateways. Meanwhile, Roach Warren and a layer started up here. More and more lings being made here. Is he going to... Okay, he's going to get a couple more drones, though. He's not committed to anything crazy.
Yeah, I think he just wants to have a little bit more map control with those lings. herO is one of these players that likes to make maybe 5, 6, sometimes a couple more adepts and feign something like a Glaive's timing or move even way before that, like he's doing right now, actually.
Yeah.
And having just a handful of lings makes defending this a lot easier, because if you do get caught woefully out of position, these adepts can get a lot of damage done. And actually, herO was hoping to find that, and he might not have been expecting so many lings, but the positioning not too bad here for herO. I think Reynor should eventually be able to clean it up.
Well, he hasn't really killed any drones. Am I wrong about this?
No, you're right. Yeah, that was a nice
he just
move.
Threw adepts away, so there might be counterplay. It seems like they got over there, but they didn't target. The Oracles are going to get some drones, but only 3.
Yeah, very smart by Reynor, just to make those handful of lings, kind of anticipating the style that herO likes to go for, almost baiting him in.
Yeah, he parks him inside the expansion, right? So a lot of times you see the lings chasing you and you know to cancel, but instead he gets there, and as the shade is finished, now they're stuck. Now they're actually just over here. Oh, can he get this? Oh! Oh, that's too bad. He just barely misses it.
Yeah. That is a little unfortunate there for herO. Delaying that 4th base would be nice, but instead he's doing a nice consolation prize. These 3 Oracles should be able to shave off a couple of these lings. And as things are going so far, a pretty even game, and it looks like herO actually really leading back into the +1 blink timing on this one. And Reynor. Not a lot of lings on the map right now, and those are some precariously placed Overlords.
Yeah, manages to take out another Overlord here. Reynor so far has been pretty good about remaking these Overlords. He didn't kill this hatchery earlier, but if he gets it now, it's actually even better because it started, it has to be canceled. So it's, you know, lost resources and lost time. The Stalkers are coming up. Reynor pulls the lings back here, and herO tries to blink in to punish that. Reinforcements now merging in with the rest of this. Stasis wards in the back, so he basically wants to make Reynor feel like maybe he's got this, pull away, and then punish again. So let's see if he can actually fish him in here.
Yeah, man, I am loving this play right now from herO. Great control on the Stalkers, linking them all back, shaving away these lings. This is so expensive for Reynor to deal with, and with the Oracles basically anchoring the position on the flank. herO's risking very little, and keep in mind, this is not a heavily committed attack. He is taking a 4th base. He's getting a Templar Archives, +2 ground weapons charge. This is off of 4 gateways, Tasteless. He has been hitting his macro cycles, and I love this timing coming in from herO.
And this is the style of play that we saw from herO in the past, where he's taking a 4th base, leaning onto the Zerg, basically eking out more damage over time. We do have a Ling counterattack coming by over here into the natural expansion. But that should be cleaned up pretty quickly here. But regardless, Reynor has to deal with the threats that are on the board right now. It is expansions here from herO.
That's some nice probe kills right there from Reynor. It's going to get counter damage in a situation like this one if you can, but man, I feel like herO has gotten so much value out of these Stalkers. The supplies do look, they seem to indicate an advantage here for Reynor, but it does not feel to be the case. I mean, he's pumping out Roaches and Ravagers right now, which are some of the most supply inefficient units in the game, and herO now coming in for the main base. There is a Spore Crawler and 1 Queen. Decides not going to take any damage on those Oracles to trade him out. Oh! Love that maneuver there by Reynor. Able to snipe one of these Oracles. That is fantastic for him.
Yeah, he's still on the map here, trying to put some pressure. He's got to be careful. Reynor actually has quite a bit. And, you know, Blink can look really strong and it look like he can get away, but if you get surrounded, you're going to get punished. I love the move over here. He's going to run right by. One more volley, and the hatch goes down, a blink away. herO gets in, and he gets right back out. Meanwhile, a big counterattack here with the Roaches over at the natural.
Yeah, these Roaches trying to find some damage done. He sees the recall coming in the natural, says, okay, I'm going to move into the main base. I can get some more probes there, maybe if I hurry, but no, those Roaches instead going to go into the corner. There is a wall in on that side, so herO should be safe, but the pressure now mounting over here at the 9 o'clock position. Reynor going to be able to take down this Robo perhaps. Oh, Storm already done here for Reynor. Robo does get unpowered, but with Storm and all these reinforcing Stalkers, he's able to shoot Reynor away at least for 1 moment, but that's a lot of Roaches and Ravagers coming in on this 3rd base. Keep in mind, herO still has a lot of units in that main, deflecting the Roaches from before. They haven't yet come down to defend this 4th base, so good trades for Reynor up until this point, but now that the Stalkers are all coming in, these Ravagers, they can get focused down.
Yeah, this is actually getting worse, I think, here for Reynor. You know, the Roach Ravager, it's probably the best that he could do. I don't think he had a lot of options. He had to try to counterattack it, to try to get something done. I love the Roaches back here, killing off some more of these workers. But herO right now, I mean, he is flush with workers. He was at over 75 a little bit ago. He's dropping a couple here and there, but I mean, the pressure is back on. The Stalker counterattack is going to come in here. Reynor in a lot of trouble. If Reynor can't stabilize here, he is going to lose this game.
Yeah, this is kind of crazy right now. Reynor is making mostly Ling, Roach, Ravager, and herO's a supply advantage. And what, another 800 minerals in the bank? It is insane how many probes he has. herO feels like the Zerg in this matchup right now with these Blink Stalkers.
Yeah, the Stalkers keep coming forward. He's now tagging each of these units. Again, the Stalkers just better range than the Roaches, so it's never a fair fight. The damage is always going to favor herO over time. We see a couple more Roaches picked off, a blink away to dodge that. Templar's going back. I don't know what the story is with that.
I think he's just afraid that maybe Reynor with the Remax will have enough units to shoot the Stalkers away. And yes, they can escape, but the Templar cannot. So a smart, safe move by herO. Not going to commit fully by bringing the Templar to the front line alongside those Stalkers. And now things are going to calm down at least a little bit. herO still applying pressure at the expansion of Reynor, but he's teching up. He's getting the fleet beacon. He's adding in a second Stargate. Meanwhile, Reynor, he's going into Lurkers again, and I can't really fault him for it because it feels like he does need that firepower on the ground. But the fact that herO is already going into Skytoss makes this really painful for Reynor.
You know, the problem is that I think herO might be surpassing Reynor. I mean, this is the problem. It's not just that you take so much damage from the Stalkers over time, it's that actually you don't really have any recourse. And we see a base being taken in the bottom left. herO looking really, really healthy here, and he's just shaving off Roaches over and over and over again. We have some Zealots coming in here into the mix. I think there was a Warp Prism made a minute ago that should be merging up with this army, and this is going to go from a harass game into a full-on push. There's that Warp Prism.
Yeah, Templar now coming in the front line. herO actually blinking forward, and the storms are huge on the bottom side. All of the Queens taking massive damage. Stalkers focusing down the Ravagers on the right. They are going to blink back to safely here on the left as herO had a pretty nice trade. And there are so many storms left in the bank here for herO Tasos. Look at the energy on that Templar. That's got to be like, what, 5, 6, maybe even 7 storms? I don't know if herO can, or I don't know if Reynor, can survive this next fight. If herO is able to get into a concave and actually land the storms on these units as he is going for it now. These Roaches, these Ravagers, they're already bruised. They're going to take so much damage.
And I don't think he can protect the hatchery. The hatchery is going to go down. It's going to be a 5-base Protoss to a 3-base Zerg. Reynor in so much hot water.
This is crazy what we are seeing from herO right now. He is playing out of his mind against a Reynor who looked to be on fire coming into this series.
Okay, the back and forth continues here. Reynor hanging on by a thread. The pushing continuing here. We have the 3 o'clock base being taken here from Reynor. He has to find some kind of an out. He does have the Lurker tech, but his economy is hurting so much.
Look at that incoming advantage. Oh, the storms!
Oh my God.
Man, those drones are lucky to get alive with 1 HP. 8 of them in total going down as the economic lead here for herO is just compounding. He's taking the gold base in the bottom left. He's pushing 80+ probes to 60 drones tasteless. This is insane what we are seeing.
We got a big counterattack over here at the natural expansion. This is something herO is going to have to deal with. He is maxed out, so we can't just make more stuff, but I guess the Tempest can kind of solve this over time. There's really nowhere for the Roaches to go. Meanwhile, a hatchery going to be canceled here at that 4th base. So once again, it's Reynor on 3 bases to the 5 bases here of herO. Reynor with some scary counterattacks, but I think herO's economy is already where it needs to be.
Yeah, I mean, Reynor, it just feels like he is out of options at this point. He is very few bases, very few drones. You can see the frustration there on his face as he's double expanding. If he can maybe, it sounds like a pipe dream. Oh, the storms again on these drones. 4 more going down. GG is called.
Whoa.
And a herO that exploded in macro is going to take game number 2. And in what feels like the blink of an eye, because that game, although it went to 5 bases there for herO, it felt so quick because the pressure never stopped.
Right now, herO doing it for the people on Reddit. Protoss is OP. You guys were right. We are almost out of Protoss players, but herO is going to prove everybody wrong. Right now, 2-0. In what was just a crazy game. You know, it's that style that herO kind of made famous, and we've never really seen anybody quite do it as well. I guess Creator has come close once or twice, but really I feel like herO's the only guy that can do this.
Yeah, Creator on land, Max Pack's online, but besides those 3, it is a hard style to pull off. I mean, keep in mind, again, think back to that early game when he was mounting the pressure on the third. He was doing that with 4 gateways in total. And I love this move, too, going in, taking out that third base, then able to parry this counterattack. Reynor, he did a great job with the tools that he had again. I mean, the Roaches going into the main base lured away so much of herO's army, but once the Stalkers came and reinforced, I mean, the writing almost on the wall. Despite all of the damage that herO took, still 73 probes tasteless. It was crazy.
And, you know, once you start this damage, as long as you don't overextend, it's so hard for the Zerg to deal with. And I think Reynor probably did as good of a job as anybody in the whole world could have. You know, the storms are eventually here. And look, now he's in a position where you can't really get close to the hatchery. You come in there and, oh, here we're going to get the slow-mo of, well, we're all over the place here. Now we're going to get a shot of other drones getting shot.
I'm telling you, we should give Templar one more damage on Storm just so all those drones die. It would be such a cool highlight moment.
Okay, guys, in the top left, in the red, our Protoss player up 2-0. He is, and it rhymes, herO.
Oh, man, and fighting for his tournament life. Here in the group stages, down 0-2. Give him your energy. He needs it. It is Team Basilisk's Reynor.
I can't believe herO's up 2-0. I was pretty confident that Reynor should be taking this. I thought the games were going to be closer, but this is wild.
herO seems like he has stepped up his game here. Just from yesterday to today, his PvZ looks so much better, and should he be able to continue performing at this level, after if he is able to defeat Reynor, herO might have a hard time stopping him. I mean, it is kind of insane how well herO is playing these PvZs right now.
It's wild to think that we could have herO forcing a herO versus Reynor in the losers match, where it's going to be them, the Zergs, cannibalizing each other.
Yeah, all the way down in the knockout bracket. I mean, imagine imagine a world where you have Reynor and herO in the knockout bracket, plus one of Mara versus herO. I mean, that kind of is the world we're living in already, but if herO were to go down in addition to Reynor, oh boy, it is going to be so brutal because keep in mind, those knockouts, they're best of 3s.
Yes.
They are so deadly. It is single elim, and only one of those players is going to survive to make it to the top 4. The pressure right now on Reynor in this moment is huge. There is so much on the line here to survive and try and fight against his teammate later on, against herO. But before then, he has to win this map and then 2 more to stage the comeback against herO.
On this map, it's one where you both start out on the top, obviously one on each corner, and you kind of descend onto the map, expanding, and you're kind of expanding parallel to each other. This can make for some games where you end up with pushes towards the natural and the main, which is you know, one way that games can end where it doesn't really matter who has more bases. If you kind of get in there and get the infrastructure, a win is going to be a win right there.
Oh, herO throwing down the pylon here at the third base. Going to be delaying that hatchery here from Reynor for just a little bit. I was so caught up just thinking about the way these players are playing. I didn't catch exactly herO's opening, but I'm wondering if he went core first here because being able to get that pylon down and the adept this quickly to the third base of Zerg, it's such a thorn in their side. And it feels like usually, at least at my level or in a lot of the games that I see online, you can't really do that unless you go core first. So if that was the play from herO, really cool mix-up. In any case, I mean, core first or not, it's an excellent maneuver. Even this drone, it still has to wait. Reynor at 300 minerals, he wants to throw it down right now. Usually these builds at the pro level, especially for Zerg, are so tight. The hatch still hasn't gone down. It's 312 when that third base gets started.
For a second, kind of funny.
Yeah.
The Lings are going to come up here. They are going to get a surround onto that adept. So takes one out there. Can he get some more drones? So far the control from Reynor is looking pretty good. He does get that one back there, so 3 drones down.
Yeah, pretty good trade right there for herO, but there is one scary thing, which I guess we don't have too many Lings on the map, but oftentimes if you lose those early adepts as the Protoss player, then suddenly your first Oracle, it kind of has to play defense to secure the third base because you don't have those initial units to secure it, you know, body blocked by a pylon, right? That's why Reynor instantly sending those Lings cross map to the third, being like, okay, you delayed me, but you traded out your adepts. Now I can delay you.
Okay, the Oracle's going to go right over this, and he actually only gets 1 drone. Can he get a second? The transfuse is nice.
Wow.
And, you know, that damage on the Oracle is permanent, so it was a bold move. It did not pay off. That Oracle probably can't really harass anymore. It can only protect Stalkers and maybe try to tag units.
Yeah,
but I like the idea from herO. He's trying to get in Reynor's face right away.
He is, but I'm starting to like this for Reynor quite a bit more. I know we do have additional gateways coming online for herO, but this third base is so late. 4:30, we are throwing this down here for herO. I don't know if he actually got enough done against Reynor to make it worth it. It feels like the Protoss economy is going to be really slow coming online here in the mid game.
So we've got the Overlord coming over here to peek and try to see, all right, how many gases have been taken, what exactly is going on, what kind of game are we in for here. 10 Lings about to finish up here as the Roach Warren is coming along. Things might slow down a little bit. I mean, we've got these Oracles coming in here, but I don't think they're going to be able to get much done. It's going to be both players trying to harness the powers of their third base. 2 Oracles are going to loop through the back, but they're not going to get anywhere either. I mean, these Queens, you might just have to recall here.
Yeah, the early game with the Adepts and the Pylon getting thrown down at the third base of Reynor was really good for herO, but since then, especially the Oracle defense, it has been on point for our Italian Zerg. And the fact that Reynor, again, we're pushing 5:30 right now, and the Nexus is still not online here in the third. I think herO, he's probably going to try and play a bit more of a low econ game, I would imagine, given this situation. We do have additional gateway in production. More Stalkers are getting warped in. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him just commit to a lot of Link Stalkers pushing with +1 at the third base of Reynor, because economically, he is struggling a little bit back at home right now.
So, 4th base for Reynor. It's really going to be the phase of the game where we're growing. We've got the Blink, as we pointed out, coming along with a +1 attack. It's going to be hard to get underneath the Zerg here on the right side of the map. If you can try to get underneath, I think the Zerg can just make a beeline to counterattack you. But I think that's going to be the play regardless. The Robo is coming down. That must be at the natural then? I don't see it at the third.
Yeah, I think it's a smart play given how effective Reynor's counterattacks have been
I guess
over this series.
You don't want some kind of weak point sticking out there. I mean, that's a great way for the Zerg to punish it.
Yeah, still only 4 gases here for herO, so he is not taking up that quickly. Still just happy to stick to +1 Blink Stalkers in a moment with that Robo coming online. And my eye is glued to that production tab. I am so curious where herO is going to go with this. Is he going to throw down additional gateways? Is he going to continue warping in Stalkers?
Yeah.
No. Instead, it's 2 more gas getting thrown down. It probably won't be that super high aggression that we were perhaps anticipating. It seems like he's going to go a little bit more towards tech. Also, probably least lucky Stalker of all time, dying right before Blink is done.
Yeah, right. Just seconds away from that. Yeah, you don't have to recreate what we saw in the last game. This time he's going to go for a Robo support bay. Interesting.
Yeah, that is very interesting. And with Reynor going for, again, a relatively fast hive tech here as Infestation Pit just now finishes at 720. This could go in Reynor's favor. If this is Disruptor play, if this is Colossus play coming in here for herO, if Reynor is able to get enough Vipers out before those units reach critical mass and can get some damage done, I could see this swinging in the Zerg's favor, but until then, he's got to be able to navigate the storm that is coming, because herO, although he isn't fully committed to pressure, he is still trying to get some kind of damage done with these Stalkers, with these Oracles, the same way he did in Game 1, the same way he did with Game 2. And, it's actually a Spine here at the 4th, not a Spore, so those Oracles popping in, catching 6 drones. Nice pickoff there for herO.
Stalkers pulling away now as we're getting further and further along here in the tech tree. 2 Colossi coming. We almost have all of the building blocks set in place for the push to come. The Zerg is going to max out. It's going to ramp up in supply. We're going to be mostly Roach heavy with some Lings, so there's going to be some fights that the Zerg can try to take. As we talked about earlier, the players are going to kind of descend down the map, expanding there, with the 2 closest bases being close to the bottom center. So there's no real obvious place to push for either side.
And that unit's lost to have 10 drones, 34 Lings,
wow.
2 Adepts and a Stalker. I didn't realize it was so one-sided, although keep in mind, Reynor, for the majority of this game, his economy has been at least a pace better than herO's, but I am a little curious if herO's going to go for a timing attack now with +2 finishing, Thermal Lance coming online. No, it's going to be Disruptors. If he's continuing to play this kind of more build-up focused style, Or wait, are those reinforcing disruptors? Okay, never mind. This actually is herO Tasteless. He is pushing the pedal to the metal. He is moving cross map already with these Stalkers and Colossi. He wants to bring the fight to Reynor before those high-tech units come online. And because Reynor delayed that hive by, say, 30, 45 seconds, there is a window without Vipers, but actually first he's got to deal with this.
Okay, he's going to come down here and hit this Nexus. I don't think there's any way to save this. In fact, Rainer's just going to dive in, but this means the Stalkers and everything else can come in and wipe this out. It's barely going to be killed in time, and then the Roaches are going to go down, so we know that there can be a counterattack. Obviously, herO wanted that Nexus. He needs that Nexus, but maybe this creates another opportunity here for herO to move in. As Rainer's going to try to spike back up and supply Lurkers close to hatching, but of course Colossi can deal with them if given the right angle.
Yeah, and it's going to be Lurkers with their range upgrade coming in instead of Vipers here for Reynor, but before that range upgrade is done on these Lurkers, it is very hard for them to take a fight against the army that herO has assembled. So there's a large window before that upgrade is done where herO can levy some big hurt here on Reynor. Colossi pushing into the third base. Stalkers trying to draw some fire to the fourth, splitting the attention of Reynor. The Lurkers, they're not getting the big splash damage that they need. And herO, he is blinking forward so aggressively, absorbing a lot of impact from those Lurkers despite missing the range upgrade. A bit ambitious here for the Protoss, but he is absolutely going for it, Tasteless.
He's going to try to move in a Disruptor here in the back to try to help out. The Zerg is still kind of keeping a nice arc around this area. The Lurkers unburrow and then reburrow once more. The Disruptor shot comes in and wipes out a Ravager. Another one comes through here again. Does not quite connect.
Yeah, and you see once those Lurkers have their range upgrade complete, it's a lot harder for herO to push into that choke point. He had one small window. He was able to get a little bit of damage done, perhaps not as much as he needed. Now, if he wants to get more damage done here against Reynor, he's going to have to outmaneuver him on the ground. Actually, how many Lurkers do we have on the board here for Reynor? Because it feels like it's kind of low. Oh, no.
Two.
Only
it's
two.
Literally two.
This
it was
is
the two
scary.
from the fight earlier on the side that did most of that damage. Great Disruptor shots connecting in here. The Roaches will dive forward, but the Stalkers and the Colossi can just keep hitting them over and over. Just the two Lurkers in the back. The Stalkers blinking to the side, going into the Spine Crawlers. One Colossus pulled in, but there are so many Archons, so many Disruptor shots. I don't know that Reynor can keep this position for much longer.
Man, these two Lurkers are putting in so much work. It's kind of unbelievable that Reynor is able to hold on. Some really good micro against the splits, but again, with only two Lurkers, you can get out positioned like this. herO, now he's setting his eyes on the third base. There's a big vulnerability. One more shot here on the not the Liberators, on the Disruptor. It's going to try and connect there with the Roaches. herO would love to take down one of these hatches, but it is so hard for him to find the right angle.
And he's just basically avoiding the Lurkers. He's going to keep going up. He's going to force him to come back out. Another Colossus is pulled in here. The Lurkers are going to be doing a lot of damage. It looks like, I think there's still one buried there. He just now takes it out.
Yeah, two Lurkers go down to the Disruption Ball and those Zealots there on the front line. Man, herO is really pushing it here between the natural and the third base. This is a very awkward fight for Reynor because his reinforcements are so split. Oh my goodness, the induct and the Disruptor Ball has actually hit the Colossus as a result of it.
Kind of
some really sick moves right there by Reynor.
Kind of an insane moment. He's in between the two bases right now, so there's no easy place to rally.
Yeah. Oh man, this is looking really scary for Reynor. In these low situations with small unit counts, these Stalkers get so much value with their blink, and oh man, herO, he's gonna take down the Roach Warren.
Oh, yeah, that's right, the Roach Warren tech is right there. The Disruptor shots are gonna be cleaning up so many more of the remaining Roaches. That's gonna be it. Reynor can't believe it. He is devastated. Another insane upset here at the Esports World Cup.
Wow.
As herO 3-0s Reynor.
I almost can't believe it. Reynor has been looking so good, and herO. Yesterday, his PBZ was kind of shaky, but he played out of his mind in that series. A 3-0